Right. Is kissing someone on the same gender on the forehead haram? This is more cultural. So it's actually very interesting when we talk about cultural greetings and cultural embraces. Different cultures deal with those things in different ways. I remember when I was in Saudi, it was very common for them to greet by touching cheeks, right? It's like totally normal for them. Assalamu alaikum, and you come and you touch. And for me as an American, it was something like really uncomfortable. I felt like it was like a violation of my personal space. I'm not used to that. But when I said to one of the Saudi brothers, I was like, man, this is so effeminate. You know, you guys like touch cheeks. And he was like, well, what about you guys? I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, you know, you Americans. I was like, what? He was like, you guys touch chests. And when we embrace. And subhanAllah, it really changed my perspective, right? It really changed my perspective in the sense that sometimes we grow up like with certain types of embraces and certain types of gestures that we use to deal with each other and to express love toward each other that we find foreign in different cultures. But we have to be tolerant that every culture is going to express things in different ways. Like even when I was, so in the eastern province of Saudi and a lot of those countries like Bahrain, Qatar, and Kuwait and stuff, so they didn't touch cheeks, they actually touched noses, right? And for like, I was like, oh my God, you know, so I could barely handle the cheek thing, like the nose thing. I was like, okay, listen, I can't do that. You know, that's just too much proximity for me. But even things like kissing the forehead, kissing the forehead, kissing the hand, these are all signs of respect. I don't see an issue with it. I don't see a problem with it. I think it's something that if it's something you're comfortable with, I don't think it's fair for anyone to impose their culture on anyone else. I think sometimes this happens a lot with our children. We start imposing our culture onto our children, and it's something that might be foreign or different for them. But at the end of the day, our home is our home. However we want to raise our children, I think it's important for us to be consistent in the messaging and help them understand, you know, whatever that might be. So kissing someone else on the forehead, labas, and I don't see a problem with that. Even kissing on the cheek, like, you know, these are things that happen. And it's something that's acceptable in different cultures. So it's important to understand what the cultural guidelines are, inshallah. What happens if somebody passes away during the salah? I'm not sure what the intent of the question is. Like, it's a bushra, right? It's a glad tiding that if an individual passes away during the prayer, maybe if you're talking about like logistically what should happen, well, the prayer would be completed. It's not, if somebody passes away, it's difficult to determine, you know, if a person is dead or not, obviously during salah. He fulfilled his obligation because he was standing during the salah. So Allahu alam. I'm not really sure the exact intent of the question. Is it haram to make fun of dead animals? I can't say it's haram, but why would you make fun of a dead animal? I don't think it's a good habit. I don't. Yes. Yeah, so bowing is actually makruh. It's something that's disliked. It's something that generally should be avoided, but it's not something that's haram in and of itself. But yeah, to the dead animals, like, so there are certain habits that we shouldn't fall into and we shouldn't practice because it's not something that's healthy, right? This doesn't develop a healthy mentality that if we start doing some of these things. So like making fun of dead animals, I don't understand why that would be the case. But again, it's not something I would say is haram. But again, it's not a bad habit, and we should try to stay away from that. Why are you bald? Because Allah made me like that? I'm not. I'm not really sure. Genetics. So from my understanding, genetically, baldness comes from the mother's side. So if you want to see if you're going bald or not, then look at your khals, right? So you look at your khwal. Look at your mother's brothers, and that'll give you an idea on whether you're going to go bald or not. Is it permissible to treat it? So yeah, absolutely. There are different ways to treat male pattern baldness. There's like derma rollers, so they're very fine needles, so that you can actually run to help increase the circulation in the head. I'm not saying this from experience. I'm just sharing. Right? Obviously, it didn't work. Whatever I used didn't work for me. But You can either use that. They have the what's it called? The hair transplants. All of these things, they're permissible ways for an individual to take care of his baldness if it's something that's bothering him. But yeah. What's the point of security watching us during Taraweeh when Allah is protecting us? Allahu Akbar. What is the point of wearing a seatbelt when I get in a car? Right? What is the point of paying for things? Right? All of these are asbab. All of these are a means. And even the purpose of security is not to protect us, right? And the purpose of security is for if there's a bad actor, if somebody intends ill, then he knows that there is security in this place, and they'll ideally they usually choose another target. Right? If the person, the predator, who's looking to harm people or an institution or trying to get money, he's always going to look for the weakest target. So what is our job as an institution? We try to become something that's called a hard target. And a hard target is one that has all of these obstacles in place to prevent that. Because realistically, man, la samahullah, something comes in, who is the security guard obligated to protect? The imam, right? No, absolutely. So the security guard, he realistically, he can't protect every single individual in the institution. He is just there to be a deterrent. He is there to prevent other people, like to scare other people from trying to attack or take advantage of the institution. And but this brings a general question of taking the asbab. It's important for us to take the means. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's given us all of these means to protect ourselves. And some of those means, like when we're driving, wearing a seatbelt, that's something that's really important. You know, okay, well, why don't I just walk around barefoot because Allah is protecting my feet, right? No, there are certain means that I take. Why do I walk outside with a coat on when it's cold? It's because I have to. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me all of these means that I'm supposed to utilize in order to protect myself. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all.